another while me laugh and drink and say there was something, but you say there was nothing, but you say it with a smile. Whoa.
Whoa.
Hey, that was a good one.
We were doing like the same dance move there.
I like that. Yeah, a lot of shoulder action in that.
Welcome to the fifth quarter fantasy cast. Almost forgot the name of our podcast. I'm Coach V, and this is my co-host. The doctor is in, and he's got his red Solo cup full of like IV fluid or something. Not.
It's filled with tonight's sponsored by Milo's Sweet Tea. The
Oh
best a
wow!
man can get.
Did you get the whole? Did you get the whole gallon?
We got the jug.
I felt dirty just watching you say that.
Yeah, it didn't. It wasn't cute.
So
Not cute at all.
extra cheese on that. So it's week one. It's officially week one. We've been waiting all year for it, and it's the best time of year. Like basically all the crap we've said for the past couple months, it's about to either be completely wrecked, or we're going to take a victory lap, or it's going to be somewhere in the middle early next week. It's happening.
Yeah, pretty much. Tank Dell to the Moon MVP season uploading. So yeah, I mean, yeah, basically we're at the point now where we've drafted our teams and we are ready to start scoring some actual fantasy points instead of all this projection stuff. Vinny, did you were all done with drafts as of last week, right?
Yeah, drafts are all done. I, who didn't take a kicker or defense in like any of my leagues, have went and got my kicker and defense as of this week. And you know what? That worked out. So the people who hate on me for that, it worked out because there were literally injured guys who I just got to shed off my team, who or guys who have just like since draft day have really just fallen into irrelevance and they don't really matter anymore. I just get to let them go. And then I get to pick up a kicker and defense. But you know what? I had on my squad, and maybe there's someone there who I got that you didn't get because you were busy getting a kicker in the third round. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, and that's why we do that. Like it's a one of those small savvy moves that improves that last guy on your bench and or, shed some dead weight right before the season and you can put anybody in at kicker. Like I don't know why you'd take Justin Tucker in the third round or even, the 12th round.
Yeah. Or
Like yeah. And so anyway, the man, I'm texting too many Dustins at the same time. So brother-in-law Dustin is in a work league tonight, and I just wanted to share this with all the 125 percenters out there because I know that they're not like this. So basically, he's in a work league. Wild things happen in your work league. So because you get a mix of people who have never played before, a mix of people who are super casual, and then you have your diehards, and then you have your people in between who just kind of know what they're doing. Like so, anyway, yeah, I'd say about half of the league is people that are in our dynasty league, so very much know what they're doing. And Dustin was giving me some updates here from some of the people who have never played before. They wanted to do a $50 buy-in, and luckily I think they're just doing a 20 or a 0. But basically, I think our friends are going to take the top 5 spots. So here are some things that happened, and we'll just put the ticker up. So some BCB out there took Justin Tucker with the 3.5.
Oh.
The 3.5. Where you can get your wide receiver 1, you can get a very elite quarterback, you can get your RB1, you can find some dudes at 3.5, and he took Justin Tucker. So yeah, what an idiot. So then and just to show you the other side, we'll take the ticker off for our friend T Park here. He had the first overall pick, and after 3 rounds, this should never happen in a 10-man. Justin Jefferson Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson. Just give him the give him the trophy at this point. So that so yeah, that's people who can that's capitalizing off of other people not knowing what they're doing. It's a ton of fun. This is just fun to make fun of.
Yeah,
So
almost a little.
anyway,
It's too easy.
yeah, too easy. Yeah, it's they're not going to be challenged in this league at all.
Right.
Let's see. Aaron Rodgers was taken at the 5.5
Ooh,
by the same team who had Trevor Lawrence. So two of their first five picks were quarterbacks. It's a one QB league. And then Odell Beckham Jr., who shouldn't be rostered anywhere, went 7.5.
course, right when you can be picking up like some really nice RB2s or some receivers,
Or the real wide receiver one in Baltimore, Zay Flowers, seventh round. That makes sense.
yeah, you can probably go get a good God. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but they don't know. I mean, I
They
hope
don't know.
they'll
I mean,
know.
all you got.
If they stick it out, they'll know and they'll learn and they'll become better players next year.
Yeah,
But
if they subscribe to this channel, they'll know.
that's a
So
great way to know.
yeah,
Maybe
maybe us roasting them, word will get out from our 19 subscribers. So
maybe Dustin should send this link tonight to them and say, "Hey, just educate yourselves, guys. Don't
yeah,
do
gonna get roasted on YouTube if you do this again. So then four defenses were taken by round 8,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And then yeah, and they sent me some screenshots, but I'm not gonna do all that to everybody. So anyway, yeah, work leagues, ton of fun because you get to see crazy stuff like that you just don't see in your normal leagues. Everybody else's teams like they'll share them and I'm like looks good I guess. Like I don't know, they're all starting to look the same at this point being in so many leagues whenever people show you their lineup and you're just like I guess like it's there's not unless someone did horribly bad or just really is in a work league or something, you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, just thought I'd share that. But yeah, I had my last draft of the season last night. It was a live draft with a board, best day ever. Think I did pretty good. I got a couple of our top God Squad guys. I got the Sun God and Polly Pocket Tony Pollard himself. So very excited with the start there, and I got our number one QB, Jalen Hurts. I got him fourth QB off the board in round 4. I just couldn't pass on that value. So
That's real good. When you sent me that, when I looked at it this morning, I was like, "Nah, you came out just fine. You're gonna be looking good. It's gonna be a good year all around." But it could be bad if you don't manage your roster appropriately, and that is what tonight's episode is about: efficient roster management. And the doctor has so many. We could just keep this ticker up all night if we wanted to, because tonight is just a laundry list of doctor's orders. Okay, and so these are the things you should be doing to not only take a bad team to good or a medium team to great, or to take a great team and keep it great and keep it from falling downhill. These are the things you should be doing. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to I'm literally just going to be kind of interviewing the doctor tonight, adding my 2 cents worth where it's at. But he's got so many doctor's orders for you. So you know what? Get your pen and your notepad ready. Get your stylus and your BlackBerry ready if people still have one of those.
Get the copay. Don't forget the copay. I'm about to write a prescription for y'all ass.
So step 1 in the doctor's efficient roster management is going to be starting lineup efficiency. So tell us what that means.
Very important. So the reason why we're making this episode, basically these are just small steps. These are small savvy moves that can win you your league ultimately. Obviously you have to have the talent, so you had to have drafted well. Or at least drafted average, and you can even improve it from here and who knows, get lucky in the playoffs. So starting lineup, always start your studs. Don't get cute with it unless there's some sort of injury kind of thing or just a proven track record of them doing horrible or something. So start your studs. Always stream your kicker or defense. We kind of, make fun of a lot of Justin Tucker owners because of the price that they paid to get him whenever you can get some random person off the street.
Yeah.
So stream kicker defense. So a little bit of more work on your end from a week to week perspective, but if most of your starting lineup's pretty intact, then that's the only thing that you have to do really.
Yeah.
Also, for injury reasons, avoid Thursday night flex play. So, I don't know if you, I don't know. Say you have like a wide receiver or running back that's questionable, and maybe they're going on Sunday or Monday, and I don't know, you don't want to use up that Thursday night flex spot because that could be you could have pivoted to like two other positions, and I don't know. It's hard to I don't know. It sounded better in my head, but
No,
but
keeping your options open. You're leaving a roster slot that's going to enable multiple people to fill in all the way through Monday potentially. But
There
if
you
you
go.
play that flex spot Thursday night, even if it works out okay, you're losing that spot. And if you have some questionable injury situations and it's someone you might want to start, you might not want to start, then don't waste that on Thursday night.
Right, exactly. Because you're gonna want that. You're gonna want to throw that questionable person if they play later in the week into that game time decision person into that flex, especially if it's a Sunday night or Monday night play. So, I think that way. If you already have someone on your bench, or if you need to scoop somebody up, throw that guy in IR really quick or something. You can do that. Which brings me to my next point, which is just always trying to improve. So, we've kind of tackled that starting lineup, those small, efficient things that you can do there. But that bench is so important. And we already talked about sending an MF to the IR. That's doctor's orders. Do
Yeah.
that anytime you see them out. Pick up that extra guy. It's like bypassing the whole waiver wire system a week early. If you have a feeling about somebody, it's a free spot, man. Just do it. So, basically, anytime you put someone on IR, anytime you can do it, just do it. It's a free spot. A prime example of what you could have done in the preseason. Draft Jamison Williams. He's suspended. Obviously, check your league rules first. Make sure they allow for suspended players in the IR. But draft Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
Throw him in IR right after the draft. Go pick someone up off the waiver wire. You have an extra player. So
Right.
for 6 weeks. So
Yeah. And if you don't know, this would be after the draft, but if you don't know if a player is eligible for IR, just check. Like I'm
it's all
always
there.
Like I always check, and I'm like, someone just pulled up with a hamstring, and they're doubtful. Let me see if they can go to IR. Whatever,
Yeah.
it's a spot, and it's a great place just to throw someone because it's like cheating a little bit. Like you have an extra person on your team.
Exactly. So, it's a free spot. Also, just always be improving that bench. If you see a chance to pick up anyone that's an improvement and drop that dead weight, go ahead and do it. It doesn't have to be like the whole kicker thing that we were describing earlier. It can be, just your worst player. You see someone who's better on the waiver wire, go ahead and improve that worst player. And eventually that worst player is better than someone's second worst player, which is better than their third. And so then you have tradable assets where your fourth guy on your bench might be able to start for some other team. So basically you want a projected wide receiver. This is why we preach upside. You want a projected wide receiver to 3 to put up wide receiver 2 numbers or wide receiver 1 numbers. You want that RB4 to be better than someone's RB2. Why? Positional advantage, not having to depend on a waiver wire, handcuffs as someone if someone goes down with injury. And how do we do all that? How do we make these improvements? That would be through waiver wire and trades. So that next thing that we're going to get into is work that waiver wire, baby. So, but, if you don't want to worry about the waiver wire, you can always play underdog.
Oh.
And whenever you play underdog, make sure that you sign up with Fifth Quarter Fantasy, and Underdog will match that deposit up to $100, your first deposit. So you put in 50, that becomes 100. You put in 100, that becomes 200. Just make sure you use that code Fifth Quarter Fantasy and get that money, boy. So
That was a little waiver wire break. We just took a break.
yeah, yeah.
And we're back.
And we're back. So the waiver wire, always keep the pulse of the waiver wire. Seek improvements, study that waiver wire, know what's available, see who's trending up. All those things are important. But basically, determine if the player is worth the claim. Because depending on if you use a fab budget, which I like fab budget, it's a blind bid, it's kind of neat. I don't know, but it feels random sometimes. I kind of like just the traditional waiver wire where it's 1 through 12, 1 through 10, or whatever, and it just circles through as you process your claims. But determine if the player is worth the claim. I've gotten to a point where like streaming kicker without wasting the waiver claim is a good move. Just because like I don't know, just get them closer to game time. If there's a kicker that you really want, if you feel like it, whatever. If you don't have any other needs or anything like that, but I just don't think the kicker or defense is worth the waiver wire claim. But be active on that waiver wire.
I would say the only time there's any kind of urgency around kickers is when we get later in the year and weather becomes an issue.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever like panicked on kicker because maybe I've just been rolling with the same idiot all year long and I'm just like, whatever, this guy, he kicks a football for a living. But then my idiot is facing 30-mile-an-hour winds in the snow. I'm like, okay, let me think about kicker for like a half second,
Yeah.
But outside of that, kicker urgency, like, come on. I remember in the league last year, the Seattle kicker who was like maybe second or third in points.
He was awesome. Yeah, he was a good stream.
Someone like dropped him, and there was like a clamoring to get a hold of the Seattle, and it's just like, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, like basically, whenever that weather gets bad, like you don't want to see Tyler Bass become Tyler Ass. So, that might be where you make a switch. But yeah, work that waiver wire, like, I don't know, determine, what warrants, a good claim. Obviously you're prioritizing your running backs, wide receivers. Even like I don't know. Like I guess I could see if you want to use a claim for like a quarterback on a bye week or something, especially if it's like a heavy bye week where maybe multiple people need that backup or something. A lot of people end up drafting a backup, which I think that's kind of a waste of a waiver, like of a roster spot. Also, don't carry two defenses, don't carry two kickers, don't carry two tight ends, don't carry two quarterbacks. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like load up on your studs, running backs, wide receivers. That's where your fantasy points are at. That's another thing that should probably go into like just starting lineup and improving bench and everything. So just not a lot of dead space. You don't want that random dead weight. You want your bench to be better than everybody else's bench.
Yeah. And like know when it's time to add a guy. So there's guys who are like sleepers. There's guys who are deep sleepers. There's guys who are more suited as like a dynasty ad than they would be like a season-long ad. And like those sleepers, you might be able to like wait before you go ahead and pick them up, those deep sleepers. So, you might see a guy that you're interested in, you're hearing news about, but they're really not going to become relevant for 6 weeks.
Right.
Well, you might be able to wait a little bit on that because what could happen is you pick them up 6 weeks too early. You drop them after 3 weeks because you just had a bye week situation, and then now you needed him, and he's gone. And so it's don't pick someone up too early and then sour on them because they didn't pan out. That's on you. You got a little jacked up and wanted them now. Like I remember Pacheco last year. Pacheco kept getting picked up, drop, picked up, drop, picked up, drop. As like the hype was growing, and then like the final person who had him at the end of the year actually benefits. So it was like
Yeah.
we were all picking them up before it was actually time to pick them up because we were just
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I think dynasty players can fall into that trap a lot. Like, um, I don't know, some of my earlier drafts this year, like the one we did, like I think I got Tajay Spears, and I do think he has standalone value. And I could be wrong those first few weeks. It might take a little bit of time for them to acclimate him into the offense, but I'm not going to be impatient and just drop him unless I see a better opportunity. But he's more of like a dynasty play. Puka Nakua, he's somebody that's getting a little bit of buzz now that Cooper Cup's injured. Looks kind of bad. But I mean, what's Van Jefferson is the number one receiver. He's somebody that we've been waiting to become a thing for years, and it hasn't happened. So I think Puka Nakua could be that guy, but he's kind of a speculative ad at this point. Like you're not starting him week one, so I don't know unless you're in a deeper league or something like that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, waiver wire it can be tricky. I don't know if there's a way to master waiver wire, but I think these are some things that could help you out. Definitely be active on it. If you're using your like low end priorities on kickers, like that's fine. Who cares? But like if you have that number one waiver wire priority, and also if you're claiming multiple players, like you can usually put like which order you would rather have each one. So obviously put kickers at the bottom if you are going to use that waiver wire ad.
yeah, and know when to spend big, especially if you're
Yeah.
using a fab budget. There's people who come along throughout the season, and we'll talk about those throughout the season. Those will be in future episodes when we're like, all right, this is one of those pickups. Drop half your fab on this guy because
Yeah.
it's gonna pan out. Like
Yeah.
there were a few. It's just every year there's a handful who it's like you're gonna spend 3/4 of your fab on this guy, but it's gonna be
Yeah.
worth it. But
Yeah.
then you have to like find those guys and you got to be willing to do it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and we'll miss on some, we'll hit on some, but the last way to efficiently manage that roster though is upgrading by trading. Trades are tricky. Like I'm in some like my first dynasty league or my older dynasty league this year, or going into like year two this year. Very heavy on trading. Like they are so trade happy over there. It's really fun. But I've seen people trade out of like good positions. I've seen people improve their team into, going from like a last place team all the way up to like a contending team. I've seen middle of the road teams become the favorite. Like it's trading can be a quick way to the top if it goes your way, but don't trade just to. But I've also been in uh, leagues where zero trades were completed that year, or it's very rare that there's a trade or something like that. But trades don't trade just to trade because it's sexy and cool and fun and you look neat whenever you do it. Like if you're making a lateral move, I don't know why you're doing it, but usually what basically let that roster marinate after the draft too. There's no reason to just start trading players right after you grabbed them because basically you're going to be looking at the value like the round that they were picked and there's going to be a clear winner or loser, and it's like, hey, if you wanted that guy, why didn't you grab him? Now you have to pay for it by throwing in another guy or something like that. But trades need to happen when you need to seek improvement. Example, maybe you have that extra depth at wide receiver. You have, I don't know, say your wide receiver 5 is performing at wide receiver 3 level with potential to be a wide receiver 2, but you're probably not going to start him because you have 4 studs who are all putting up wide receiver 1 numbers or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Take that wide receiver 5 of yours and maybe improve at running back. Say maybe you need to tier up at running back or something, put them with your RB2, go get an RB1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're getting 2 startable assets, whereas like you have one guy who's just not being utilized. So like basically taking those non-utilized players that someone else could use and offering a fair trade to somebody where it improves your roster and improves theirs, because it's a two-way street. It's not just you getting yours and them getting nothing. Like, it's in an ideal world, yeah, you're going to win every trade, but there's trades are especially in those trade shy leagues, like, it's hard to pull the trigger on those. So yeah, I mean, basically, I think we could have a whole episode on trades that we touch on in a later episode, just because there's a lot of psychology behind it. There's a lot of different layers to it, a lot of different ways to package deals, get deals done, and it's fun. It's intriguing. It's one of the more interesting parts of fantasy, I think, but definitely a good way to improve your roster.
Yeah, I like to just, I have my beliefs about guys and my disbeliefs about other guys.
Yep.
And I like to just go for it in a trade and just go, you know
Yeah.
what? You know, I got this guy on my team. I don't believe in him at all, but I know you kind of like him.
Yeah.
So do you want him? And you got this guy on your team that I really believe in that everyone else thinks is like crap. And so I like to make trades that I'm not going to be mad about later. So it's
Yeah.
almost more about just me. So even if I lose in the deal, as long as I'm just happy with the decision I made at the time, that's fine by me. Like
Yeah.
last year when I dumped Josh Jacobs and everyone was like, "Oh, I bet you're pissed off about that." And I was like, "No, I hate that guy and I wanted him off. I don't care how well he
I
scores.
would have done the same thing. I don't know why I'm so down on him. He's never affected me, but
Sometimes you
like,
just don't like people."
yeah, yeah, he sucks. Running back three.
Like, and that's why I like fantasy. It's just fun and silly sometimes. I'm not putting enough money on this stuff for it to matter. Like, so let's just
Plus,
have
we're
some.
about to win all that money over on Underdog.
Oh yeah, I mean, like this podcast, we're gonna have all upgraded everything after we win every single one of our underdog matchups. So
Every single one, undefeated. So, um, yeah, but that's everything there. And then I think I just added this as like an extra in season tips that we can do. I have a couple whenever it comes to I guess what to kind of look for whenever you're trying to identify that player that you want to add on the waiver wire. Don't chase touchdowns. I think that's just an easy way to lose and keep missing and whiffing on these guys is if you chase touchdowns. What you want to chase is opportunity and volume. A good combo of that will do you right. Um, and that's doctor's orders. So make sure I'm prescribing you opportunity and volume, and make sure you stay away from TDs.
oh yeah,
So anyway, this comes with targets. This comes with next man up injury situations, skill set and talent. Example, like someone who would be a very high waiver ad would be like if Aaron Jones goes down with injury,
hmm
like stock way up on AJ Dillon,
right,
like, or
yeah,
anybody in like one of those situations. Tajay Spears through the roof if Derrick Henry goes down.
right,
Um, Things like that. But yeah, I mean, also like look at draft capital. Like whenever these players, especially like the younger players, like whenever they were drafted, is the actual team invested in them? So look at that. Look at beat reports. Look at player profiles. Like one that comes to mind that is probably like a potential if he has a hot start. I would say Justin Ross over in Kansas City.
yeah,
He's got the player profile. He's just had a couple years of injury concerns, getting hurt and everything, but he's on KC and he's got all the potential in the world, if he harnesses all that. But yeah, I think that's a good way to identify talent. Definitely don't chase touchdowns. They're the most flukiest thing ever. Get that volume, get that opportunity. So those are a couple of my tips for going into this year.
yeah, and just simply make sure they're on the field. Like there's literal like receivers who have a name that people recognize, but they're coming off the field just way too often. They're just maybe they're a package player and they're only involved in certain packages. We're gonna see that with some of those rookies that we love, and we're gonna get frustrated with. Well, it's just like they're just not in on that package yet because the coach doesn't trust them with those plays, and so they're just not on the field. And there's guys who go score touchdowns in 1 week in a specific touchdown specific package, so they get picked up, and then everyone's like, why are they not on the field, why are they not on the field? And it's like, well, that was you know a playbook has sections. Think about when you play Madden, there's like the sections. And so if that guy only scores in those goal line type plays, okay, he could be like a goal line, he could be a ball hawk for the touchdown, but is he necessarily getting those opportunities all throughout the game? So now you're just got this super touchdown dependent guy, whereas
Yeah.
you could be looking at someone who's on the field for 80, 90% of snaps. They're getting targeted on however many of those snaps. And I would much rather have that guy because at least that's
Yeah.
reliable and dependable. And with targets, like you said, good stuff will happen.
Yeah, so here's an example. So say somebody has one target, they have one catch, 20-yard touchdown, that's 9 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody else who has 7 targets, 5 catches, 40 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'd say they're a bit more involved in that offense overall. So I think that's a prime example of chasing that volume over chasing that touchdown, because touchdowns will come the more volume you get. Big example of this, Deontay Johnson's stats from last year.
Yeah.
Tons of targets, tons of yards, or maybe not tons, but like you could tell that if you throw 6 touchdowns on there or something, he scored 0 touchdowns last year. That's not going to happen again. If you throw like just 6 touchdowns on there, he's probably like a wide receiver too.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, just some things to look out for there. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to go over there. Do you have any more in-season tips?
I don't have any. I don't have any more in-season tips. I just was gonna mention to folks that it's week 1, Thursday night. It's happening, and get your popcorn ready and be ready for weekly analysis from us. You're gonna come to hear what's going on, what happened in the week of football, what's relevant, what should you ignore, who should you pick up, and this is when it's going to be really fun. So, I mean, starting next week, we're going to be having a ton of fun breaking down these games, breaking down these matchups, what's coming up. We just make sure you enjoy it. Make sure you have a good time. Make sure you don't get too pissed off sitting on your couch, neglecting your family while your team is going off or your team is getting destroyed. Just take like 2 seconds and go, I'm having fun, right? This is fun.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, sure you're having a good time, because why the hell are you doing it if you're not having fun? Like, that's really
Exactly.
the end of the day. Like, just cherish those moments, tune in, however you like to tune in, but just soak it all in. Have a really good time with it.
Yeah, have fun this year. It's yeah, I know we're about to brainstorm some ideas of, what we're gonna probably add a couple segments, because every week's gonna look very similar. But we'll try to add some cool stuff in there. Like we might spend 5-10 minutes talking about a different subject or something like that. I don't know. We'll probably add some silly stuff in there. Who knows? Maybe some guests.
Hey, whoa, whoa,
Yeah, you
whoa.
never know. Yeah, maybe we'll have Peepaw on. Who knows? Peepaw.
Why is that people?
The praise hands is Peepaw.
Okay, well, we will catch y'all on the other side of week 1 next week, breaking things down. We will know whether we're idiots or we're geniuses or somewhere in between. But in the meantime, don't forget, shout it from the rooftops to live, laugh, love, like, and subscribe. Fifth Quarter Fantasy.
Walk another while of me, laugh and drink and say that.
That's the good stuff.